Welcome to Redshirt Moments.
Before we start on our adventure, don't forget to follow us on Facebook at Redshirt Moments. All right, welcome back to Redshirt Moments, and I am here, as always, with my wonderful co-host, Melody.
Hi. Today, we're lucky enough to have a guest star on our lovely little podcast. It is Rocco Sisto, and he is immersed, or has been in the past, immersed in the Trek, and so we wanted to get him on the show.
Absolutely, and welcome aboard.
Happy to be here.
And it was interesting how we met. Because everyone will assume that we must have gone through agents and producers and managers and stuff, but that's not how we met, right?
No. The way most people meet in New York is they bump into each other at a restaurant. My wife and I were having brunch at a restaurant, and you were there, and we noticed your regalia, and then I asked what you were doing, and you said you were attending a convention, and I introduced myself as an actor who had worked on the series.
That's amazing. When you let loose who you were when we were at brunch, we were kind of floored. Here we are. There was like 10 of us or whatever in our stuff, and you're like, "Hey, you."
I know you guys. I've seen that costume. I've seen that before. Yeah, no, it was great. You're delightful, and it was, a nice meeting.
Yeah.
So we're in the midst of things. The reason we were going to have you on regardless, but we're in the midst of things right now. Whereas, there's a strike. We're in the midst of a strike, and not everyone understands it. Not everybody knows what's going on or how they can help. So,
well, first of all, the Writers Guild of America went on strike because the studios want to introduce. One of the things they want to do is to introduce AI in writing scripts. So that would cut down the amount of writers that you have originally. And then what you would do is then hire writers ad hoc to clean up the junk that these AI scripts generated, because they're always crap. They'd never, if you've ever tried to download an AI, let's say an AI recipe for pasta, what you come up with is pretty terrible. So that's the state of it now. And the writers went on strike because they are losing money. They can't make a living anymore. Before the days when you would have 24 episodes per season, remember, writers are paid by the episode, basically, how many episodes they produce. And so if the old days they'd make 24 episodes, they could live for a whole year and have their kids and have a medium middle income life. Now everything's shrunk, so that instead of having 22 or 24 episodes, you'll have 10. How many did The Sopranos have? 10 episodes a year. And it was always sometimes a year and a half between seasons. And so writers can die that way. They curl up and die. So they're striking to some more job security, first off, and better pay, because they are not getting paid what they're worth, and the residuals suck. And now the actors have gone on strike because of AI, because now there is artificial intelligence technology taking over the industry. And the platform has changed as far as how you watch shows, how you watch a movie or a television show. As we all know, streaming has gone crazy. And so all these streaming platforms go on. And in fact, they are more profitable because they can sell programs piecemeal. Before, when you would, in the days of cable, it was called pay-per-view. Now everything is pay-per-view, and so the actors are going on strike for AI, so that we get some guarantee that our images are ours and not owned by someone else. One of the things that they wanted, the studios wanted to do, but they wanted to actually hire a background actor for a day and pay him whatever it was, and then scan him or her, and to use that image in perpetuity. So, and their voice. It's frightening what they could do. So that our images then are not ours, and so that's one of the things that's happening. And the residuals that have gone, about residuals. That is that you pay, you are paid for your work, but you are also paid when your work is shown on television or when your image is being used, and that's called a residual. The residuals are such that actors, the first time it's shown on network, it's a fair amount of money. It's a percentage of what you made, and then it's a sliding scale down so that it gets less and less as time goes by. And then it's sold to platforms that pay less and less. So that, and all of the actors laugh about getting checks in the mail for a penny, because that's what I get sometimes. If one of those shows is shown somewhere, it can be a big hit, and it can be shown a lot, and a lot of people are making a lot of money off of it, except me, because I'm not making any money. And so now what we have to come to terms with is whether or not this is a profession or not, that has professional actors in it. So as a union, we are professional actors, and we need certain things like healthcare and health benefits and pension. And I'm a proud member of Screen Actors Guild since 1978. I know Gates McFadden, I know Brent Spiner, and we've talked about, the starvation jobs that we did in our youth. When you cobbled together a career as a professional actor, the union was behind us. They supplied health benefits and pension. When I first joined the union, it was very strong. We had great health benefits, and it was, you worked 1 week and you were covered for the year.
Wow.
And it had dental, and your family was covered free, and the premiums were, it was like back in the days when that stuff actually worked. But now with healthcare becoming a money-making operation, as we all know, it's ridiculously high. So now 86% of the union cannot afford cannot make the threshold to be covered by the union health plan, which is $26,000. So 86% of the actors do not make the $26,000 annual pay.
Wow.
To be covered for your health insurance. Now, many of us, most actors that I know, also work in the stage union, the Actors Equity Union, and that. But so the possibility is that you are working in both unions and still make less than the threshold in both of them, so that you're not covered in either union.
And that's crazy, because the median household income for what would qualify for public assistance in New York City is about that much. So
yeah.
you're literally,
well, like I said, you were also working in other, you're doing stage work, which is another union, and the way most actors do, they cobble together. That's we cobble together a career and some years you do really great, and some years you don't. But we're in it for the long haul. I'm not crying poor mouth. I'm not destitute, but I'm a working actor. And then the unions have made it more difficult as you get older. I'm now of that age where I started using that pension, and thresholds for being covered by insurance as ridiculous as they are everywhere else. How many people do we know that are working in jobs that they are not considered full-time? They make 36 hours a week and not 40, so they're in the same situation. And I think we have to come to terms with that. Now, in our union, in my profession, the studios have a lot of product to go through. So we'll be seeing films and television shows being not produced, but being shown, because they're all there. Everything else is locked up. So
going back to the AI and the threat of it coming in, wasn't there something similar, possibly the last time you guys went on strike, pertaining to it was when VHS was just starting to be a thing?
Every advance, when films started being shown on television, there was no platform for any restitution, any because your image is being owned and or being shown. And so the union in 1960 went on strike because of television residuals from movies. So you had there was a cutoff date where the movies made before a certain date didn't get residuals, and movies that made after a certain date did. And the products and the images of those people, of those performances, were not owned. Remember all those Laurel and Hardy jugs, and Laurel and Hardy never got a penny from that. The lunch boxes and the beach towels and the masks and all that stuff. Never. Three Stooges, never. Those guys, poor Curly had brain damage from getting hit in the head so many times, but had a hard time getting health insurance. And actors that were in the old Marx Brothers, Buster Keaton, they never made anything. Now after that, the residuals started working, but that was the first time. And then with each generation of innovations, it was how does it grow? What does it do? And as you said, in our life, most recently it was, in the 80s with VHS, how do you, it can be played so many times, and then shown, and then of course cable. And that was the first time that the union blinked, because everyone, the producers came and said, well, we don't know what the industry is going to be like, whether or not it's going to be making any money. And so the union said, okay, and so the union contract was demonstrably less than the contract for network. So ABC, NBC, and CBS, because they're broadcast networks, those contracts were already in place. Cable came in, and that was a whole different set of rules over how many times it could be shown, what was the pay, and what were the residuals. And so many of the actors who did have those hit early HBO shows weren't paid a lot well, first of all, they weren't paid a lot to begin with, and then they weren't paid a lot when they were shown.
Sorry, your guys' union has to be ahead of all the tech in order to know what to ask for all of their members.
Nobody knows how much money they're making from streaming. They don't know how many times it's being shown officially. There are some unofficial sites that will say this is how many times this gets. These are the image. They will have the numbers, which of course the streaming people, whoever they are, saying, of course not. You don't know what you're talking about.
For instance, with streaming, you could watch the person at home can watch anything as many times as they want. For instance,
we have to come to terms with it's a whole new world with streaming and AI, and it's not just us. The interesting thing about it is this new world thing about virtual. It's already happened. You have virtual stores. You can order anything. You can get anything. We have to come to terms with that.
You mentioned the AI and the scanning of actors. There was an interview with Harrison Ford, and he talked about how they just did the movie Destiny, where they had so much archival footage of all of his work from Star Wars and the old Indiana Jones that they could use that image. But I think the difference now is that, Harrison Ford was paid for all of that work leading up to, but now it's what you're saying is somebody could go in one day, be scanned,
and make a whole new movie starring Harrison Ford.
Right.
He doesn't have to go there at all. I mean, you've seen Arnold do Whitney Houston, haven't you?
Oh, right.
That's the same technology. So,
to go back to, you had talked about the writers and AI. So I don't know if you all saw it, but there was a string of videos that were AI produced that were kind of jokes about Wes Anderson films. So it was like Star Wars if it was told by Wes Anderson, and that one was really funny. And then I read an article and I talked to some people, and there were subsequent ones that were slightly less funny. And then there was an article that came out that, the reason why is because these are all AI generated films that are copies of copies of copies, and you're getting further away. And so when you talked about the writers, only being brought in to clean up what the AI produced, that made me think of that.
Netflix just advertised for an AI position. $90,000 a year.
Wow.
So
Wow.
they're going ahead no matter what. We just have to know and be ahead of what they're doing and how they're doing it, because when they start saying things like in perpetuity, it's like, oh, all right, it's
there's also a kind of a double irony in this example, because I watched a video. So basically they were like, this is Wes Anderson's creative work, and it's, he's not getting anything from it, and these people are just making copies of copies of copies. But then there was another video I watched with Ed Norton, who had been in several of his films, and he had said, yeah, being on a Wes Anderson film is such an amazing experience that sometimes people will just do it to do it, even if you don't make much. And he said he only got paid $4,200 for each film that he made. So there's an irony there that, we're concerned about all things, Wes Anderson's intellectual property, and AI's effect on it. We're also concerned about being paid a respectable amount for our work. And
sure. Well, one of the things is that getting getting employment like that is special, and they know it. It's a number that they put on for what they pay you. It's not what anyone, it's like, that's what they say when they say top of show, that's what they'll pay you. And but that's what they say is top of show. When the profits are so astronomical with those 5 studios, 10 studios, when you're in the billions of dollars, then what the creative part of it is asking for is infinitesimal to what they make, and I think what those studios are trying to do is trying to see what they can get away with and still make money. And if they can get away with, cartoons of, what do you say about that? It's an algorithm, and the money goes into this for the stockholders. But those stockholders are not people; those are other corporations that, so there's nobody saying, oh, wait a minute, let's pay them a decent salary. No, they've already programmed what their strategy is in negotiation as to, well, all right, we won't talk to them for the first, we'll send out all this misinformation, then we won't talk to them for a week. You have, Fran, Drescher blowing up on television going, these people, that's, screaming at the top of her lungs because the union goes in there and say, let's finish this. Let's just, and the other ones are going, oh, it's, it's a war of attrition for them. Whoever lasts longest, they actually did say, we'll just, when the writers were going out, the studios will just starve them. They'll come back.
Wow.
So, do you recollect how long the last strike was? I don't remember.
May have been a month and a half. I'm not sure.
Okay, yeah, but the starving out thing does seem about what they're trying.
Well, for
the
writers, it's not a big group of people. They're not like thousands of people. These are the creatives. These are the ones that really
start the process.
Start the process, continue the process. I know a few of them, that have worked magic on TV shows, and I've talked to a few of them, and lo and behold, what they talked about, what they'd like to do, is what you saw on the screen. It's like, wow, he actually did write about that, and that actually is on the screen. Wow, he's actually doing some great stuff, and very important work. And I think that's, AI is not going to do that. See, the thing about it is they don't feel. Algorithms don't feel. Actors and writers feel, and that's the one thing that they never figured out.
I was just thinking, there's a show called Love, and it's, I think, produced by Judd Apatow, and one of the main characters is a writer, and he's so psyched because he wrote the story for an episode of this show, and he's, everyone thinks it's the biggest deal in the world, and then they take his story, they hack it up, completely change it, and then he doesn't even get exactly a writing credit. It's like story by this guy, and then you just get the standard.
By an idea. What's the old saying? There's many a slip between the rim and the lip. By the time you get the drink to your face, it's who knows how much you have left. A writer will come in and say, oh, all right, no, you said it differently. All right, let's put it together. That's when You'll never get that with AI. You'll never get that with.
Mm-mm.
I mean, can you imagine AI writing a script for Seinfeld or something? I mean,
Right,
just
right.
any improvisation with those two guys, that would never, that can't happen. So
Yeah.
They mutilate things. They don't like enhance them. They're
well,
like,
you use it. It doesn't use you.
mm. So overarchingly, going back to just unions generically, why do you think, as a member of one, why do you think that they are important?
Well, safety is one big thing. I'm also a teamster. I worked in a machine shop, putting myself through school in Tool and Die, Chicago South Side. I made my own hand tools, SK hand tools. I can tell you, unions stepped in when things got dangerous, and things are also, a lot of safety first, protection, wage protection, a break. Things like you have to have a break, you have to have lunch. You get, you work your ass off for working 8 hours, you get paid time and a half. That your time is worth something. We're not members of an industry. We're actors and writers. We're part of a profession. It's our profession. So it's a guild. It's the Screen Actors Guild. It's the Writers Guild, and we do this, and we're professional. This is our profession. So when you're a truck driver, you're a truck driver. You're a transit worker. You belong to a union. You have to have a certain amount of rest. So that you're a technician. A lot of technicians almost went on strike because of in the IATSE in the theater and on Broadway, because of concerns about time, how many people do a job, all that kind of stuff. So
unions are a coming together instead of one person being against. It's instead of David and Goliath.
Yeah, it's
a couple of Davids, a few Davids.
I'm old enough to remember with Reagan eviscerating unions, because of the air traffic controllers, and then unions became associated with organized crime and socialism and all that stuff, that they try to vilify unions and all that, and then it became this be part of the company, be a company man, and then you're going to out and work your way up, and never happens like that, but it's okay, but and the whole trickle down thing, and no, it never works. And we fell for it. Last time we fell for it is like, we'll give all the corporations gigantic cuts, and they'll put the money back into infrastructure. It's like, no, they didn't. They bought back their company and made everybody a lot of money, but they didn't help the workers. They didn't build anything more. They didn't open more plants and plot back into they just paid themselves more money. And so, when did we do that? Less than 5 years ago, right? So it's a lesson we always have to learn, that unions are there to protect you. They're not there to protect them.
Robert O'Reilly, he talked about having an allergic reaction to one of the costumes that he had.
Of course. Yeah.
To make something different. They're like, if you wear it again, you're going to get anaphylactic shock. And then, of course, there's the Wizard of Oz. The Tin Man was poisoned by.
Well, one of the smart things that I know, was that, and then they think, oh, these stupid, the soft actors, these agents negotiating all these terms. And one of the things they negotiated for those actors that wore that makeup were medicinal facials every month, because, hey, so that's why there's a union.
Exactly it. Fight for the little guy.
A lot of times people who don't understand the reason for a union, and no disrespect, because we're to anyone, we're all learning, but if you've worked in a profession where there are safety concerns, and you can be fired for any, it's usually people who have worked in a profession that has a union that understands why you need one.
Oh, that I've been on a lot of TV shows where I've shot. I'm a guy that usually is shot or shoots, and so I've had to handle a lot of firearms. And the safety, especially in LA, is so strict. It's so strict, and they show you what they're doing. They show you what it is. They tell you. They say this is, and that's whatever that happened with Alec Baldwin's thing is a tragedy, and quite frankly, it's still inexplicable to me. But everything that I've ever gone through, on a union set has always safety first.
We know that we don't have you for too much longer. If we could just ask you about, like you mentioned before we started filming, that you're going to be involved in some picket lining and
Sure, no, I live in New York, so I'm going to go to City Hall. We're having a rally at City Hall on Tuesday. Come on down at noon. I'm going to start this week and be with my fellow union members. You know, you can Google sagaftra.com. They'll tell you what, in more precise detail, the regular Joe can do about this strike and what we're actually fighting for, because we're not the millionaires everyone thinks they are.
I like that there's a list somewhere of what we, the average, schmuck, can do for you guys to help in any small way.
Yeah, thank you. No, but it's important that we get the word out, and we're not just a bunch of wackies. That we're actually real people with everyday problems like you.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate your time, and we hope we get to connect again soon.
I'll see you guys. Have a good Saturday.
Thank you so much, Rocco. Thank you.
Bye-bye.